Rylan came to the Duke's territory for one small reason: to collect a gambling debt. Nothing more, nothing less. It was supposed to take 10 minutes. He had handled bigger criminals, tougher aliens, and more dangerous places. This job was easy, almost boring. At least. That's what he believed when he stepped off his small human transport ship and walked toward the Duke's giant palace built from red stone and silver metal. But the moment he reached the main gate, something felt wrong. The guards did not look confident or proud like royal guards normally did. Their eyes avoided Rylan. Their hands shook slightly when they lifted their weapons. And when he said he was here to meet the Duke, they exchanged nervous looks, as if hiding something. Rylan noticed everything. He always did. He was calm, quiet, and deadly when needed. Many aliens respected humans for their strange courage, and Rylan carried that reputation without trying. Inside the palace, the air felt heavy, almost like it carried secrets. Servants kept their heads down as they walked past him. Some flinched when a door slammed far away. Some whispered words he couldn't understand, but the fear in their eyes was clear. And then he heard it, a soft, broken sound, like someone crying. Rylan turned his head slightly, listening. The sound came from a hallway the guards told him not to enter. It was faint, almost hidden, but he knew suffering when he heard it. Still, he kept walking toward the Duke's throne room. He wasn't here to get involved in anything else. He was here for the debt, nothing else. But a small part of his mind didn't let go of that sound when he entered the Duke's chamber. The Duke forced a smile too wide to fake. "Human Rylan," he said, "I didn't expect you so soon." Rylan knew a lie when he heard it. Kept his voice neutral. "You owe credits. I'm here for them." The Duke laughed loudly, like someone trying to distract from a dangerous truth. Yes, the debt. A small mistake, easily fixed, but his hands trembled. Why would a powerful Duke fear a simple debt? Rylan didn't move, didn't speak. Silence made people reveal themselves. And the Duke did exactly that. He started sweating, his voice cracking. His eyes darting toward the same hallway Rylan had heard the crying from. That was the moment Rylan understood. The Duke was hiding something. When the Duke left for a moment to prepare the credits, two small servants passed by, whispering urgently. Rylan caught only one word clearly: the stolen wife. His eyes narrowed. Stolen. Before he could think further, another cry echoed, this time louder, filled with pain. It came from behind a door nearby. Rylan's body reacted before his mind did. He stepped toward it slowly, silently. One more step, another. His hand reached for the door. "Do not go there." A guard shouted, too late. Rylan pushed the door open. What he saw inside froze him. A woman, an alien with silver blue skin, glowing eyes and long braided hair, was chained to the wall. Her wrists were bruised and bleeding. Her clothes were torn, her body shaking, her voice weak from crying. She looked up when he entered, her eyes widening in fear first. Then in hope, she whispered in a trembling voice, barely able to speak, "Please, don't leave me." Rylan's chest tightened. He hadn't expected this. He wasn't here to save anyone. He wasn't a hero. But something in her voice broke through his calm nature. Something about her pain made him step forward instead of stepping back. "Who did this to you?" he asked quietly. She glanced toward the door, terrified. "The Duke, he stole me. Please, help me." Before Rylan could reply, the Duke's voice roared from behind him. "Human, step away." From her, guards rushed into the room, raising weapons. The Duke looked furious. But beneath that anger was fear of Rylan discovering the truth. Rylan stared at the Duke. The Duke stared back. And in that single moment, Rylan understood something very important. This was no longer a simple debt collection. This was something far bigger, and he was already inside it. The story had just begun. Rylan stood frozen for a moment, staring at the chained alien woman. Her glowing silver-blue eyes watched him with a mix of fear and desperate hope. She did not believe anyone would help her. Maybe no one had tried. Maybe no one had dared. But now she looked at Rylan as if he were her final chance. Behind him, the Duke shouted again, louder this time. "Human, step away from her. She is mine." Rylan slowly turned his head. Locking eyes with the Duke, the guards formed a half-circle around him. Their weapons pointed at his chest, but Rylan did not move. He didn't raise his hands. He didn't show fear. He only looked at the Duke with the calm, cold eyes that made many aliens back down. "She's not property," Rylan said softly. The Duke's face twitched. "You don't understand our laws." "I don't need to," Rylan replied. "Pain is universal, and she's in pain." The guards stepped closer, but even they hesitated. Humans were rare on this planet, and rumors about human strength and stubbornness traveled far. No guard wanted to be the one who provoked a human at close range. Rylan turned back to the woman. "What's your name?" he whispered. Her lips trembled. "Liari," she said. The words shook in her throat, weak but clear. Liari, Rylan repeated calmly, as if promising he would not forget it. The Duke snapped his fingers. "Restrain him." Two guards moved in slowly, nervously. That was their mistake, Rylan's. Body moved in a blur. A quick step to the side, a twist of his wrist, and one guard's weapon hit the floor. A sudden elbow strike sent the other guard crashing into the wall. Before the remaining guards could react, Rylan grabbed the fallen weapon and aimed it at them. "Don't," he said flatly. The silence in the room grew heavy, thick, dangerous. The Duke stepped back. His confidence cracked like thin glass. Humans, always interfering. Rylan pointed the weapon at the chains holding Liari. "Where is the key?" "There is no key," the Duke said. "Those chains are powered. Only I can release them." Rylan stared at him, his eyes slowly narrowing. "Then do it." The Duke hesitated. For a moment, he tried to act proud again. "Why would I, Rylan?" Fired the weapon into the floor beside the Duke's foot. The explosion cracked the marble tiles. Dust flew into the air. The Duke screamed and stumbled back. "Oh, okay. Okay." He hurried to a small control panel on the wall. His hands shook. So badly, he almost pressed the wrong buttons. Sparks flickered. A low humming noise echoed through the room as the energy chains loosened, and then fell from Liari's wrists. She collapsed forward, but Rylan caught her gently before she hit the ground. Her skin was cold. Too cold. She had been kept in this room for a long time. "You're all right now," Rylan said quietly. She looked up at him, her voice cracking. "Why? Why help me?" "Because someone should have," he answered simply. The Duke regained his courage now that the guards surrounded him again. "You're making a mistake, human. She belongs to a powerful faction. Keeping her will bring death to anyone who touches her." Rylan lifted Liari carefully in his arms. "Then you shouldn't have stolen her." Her fingers clutched his shirt tightly. She was afraid he would disappear like a dream if she let go. Rylan walked toward the door, but the Duke blocked his path. "You cannot leave with her. She is worth more than you could ever understand. Hand her back, and I will forget." This, Rylan kept walking. The Duke's voice rose in panic. "Don't be foolish. She is the stolen wife of a royal house. If they find her with you, they will not only kill you, they will destroy every settlement you ever visited." Rylan paused for the first time. A royal wife. Stolen. This was bigger than he expected, but Liari's grip tightened around him as, if begging him not to stop, Rylan looked at the Duke, his expression unreadable. "If you were afraid of your own actions," he said slowly, "you shouldn't have taken her in the first place." Then he carried Liari out of the chamber. The palace alarms began screaming. The Duke shouted after him, "You will regret this. Human, my hunters will find you." Rylan didn't look back. He had made his choice, and now the entire planet would come after him for it. Rylan didn't waste a second after stepping out of the Duke's palace. He tightened his grip on Liari, her fragile body trembling against his chest. The alarms kept echoing behind them, cold metallic sounds that meant danger was officially awake. Guards scrambled in every direction. Drones rose into the sky. The Duke's voice boomed across the speakers, full of rage and fear. "Capture the human. Bring the stolen woman back alive." Rylan didn't flinch. He moved fast, slipping through the maze-like alleys behind the palace. He had studied the settlement map before arriving. He knew the quickest way out. But what he didn't know was how many enemies he would gain today. Liari's breathing was shallow. She clung to his shirt as if he were her entire world now. "I can walk," she whispered weakly. "No," Rylan said gently. "You need rest." She didn't argue. She didn't have the strength. Behind them, the sound of metal footsteps grew louder. Patrol units. Fast, precise, brutal. These were not simple guards anymore. The Duke had released his elite hunter's creatures with 6 legs, glowing eyes, and armor that could shift shape. Rylan put Liari down behind a stack of metal crates. "Stay low. Don't move." She nodded, her eyes filled with fear. Rylan turned to face the approaching hunters. One leaped from the shadows, claws extended. Rylan dodged, grabbed a broken metal pipe from the ground, and slammed it into the creature's throat. It fell with a gurgling hiss. Another rushed from behind. Rylan rolled aside, grabbed the creature's arm, twisted it until bone cracked, and used its own momentum to throw it against a wall. But more kept coming. Rylan didn't have time to kill them all. He grabbed Liari again and ran. The city ended. Quickly, replaced by a vast stretch of desert called the Crimson Waste, a place where even animals avoided walking. Red sandstorms, strange beasts, and deadly heat made it one of the harshest regions on the planet, and Rylan ran straight into it. The moment they stepped onto the sand, a storm began rising. The sky darkened. Winds howled like angry spirits. Sand whipped across Rylan's face, cutting into his skin. But he didn't stop. He needed distance. He needed confusion. A storm was dangerous, but it also hid their tracks. Liari coughed weakly. Sand stuck to her bruised skin. Rylan shielded her body with his own, keeping her close as the storm grew fiercer. "Why? Why risk this?" she whispered. "Because." "You asked me not to leave you," he answered. She watched him quietly, amazed by his simplicity, by the way he spoke as if saving her life was the most natural thing. Hours passed when the storm finally calmed. Rylan lowered Liari onto a boulder. She looked exhausted, eyes half closed, breaths shallow. Her wrists were bleeding again from the irritation of the sand. Rylan tore a piece of his shirt and wrapped her wrists gently. "This will do for now," he said softly. She looked at him. With confusion, humans help strangers. "Sometimes," Rylan said with a small smile. "Sometimes we do stupid things because they feel right." She almost smiled, but fear returned to her face quickly. "The Duke, he will not stop. He wants me back." "He won't get you," Rylan said. "You don't understand," she whispered. "He didn't steal me only because he wanted a wife. He stole me because I carry something valuable." Rylan raised an eyebrow. "What?" Before she could answer, a loud screech echoed across the desert. Both of them froze in the distance. Silhouettes moved toward them, large creatures with glowing red eyes, running on all fours, moving faster than any horse. They weren't guards. They were desert hunters, and they had picked up a scent. Rylan stood in front of Liari, gripping the metal pipe tightly. The creatures circled them, growling, tasting the air, preparing to attack. Liar's voice trembled. "Rylan, don't die because of me." "Not planning to," he replied calmly. The first beast lunged. Rylan moved like lightning, ducking, swinging, striking its skull. It fell instantly. The second beast jumped from behind, but Rylan rolled, grabbed sand, and threw it into its eyes. While it staggered, he cracked its spine with a single blow. Liari watched with wide eyes. Humans are stronger than stories. "Say sometimes," Rylan grunted, dodging another attack. But the creatures kept coming. For every one he killed, 2 more emerged from the dunes. Sweat dripped down his face. His muscles grew tired. His breathing grew heavier. But he never stepped back. Not even once. Finally, an explosion echoed in the sky. Rylan and Liari looked up at the same time. Alien ships, sleek, dark, dangerous, flew above the desert. Not the Duke's soldiers. Not desert beasts. Something else. Liari's face turned pale. "No," she whispered. Rylan held her shoulder. "Who are they?" She stared at the ships with terror. "My people," she said softly. "They think I'm dead. They've come to kill whoever took me." And they had just found Rylan standing beside her. For a long moment, Rylan and Liar both stared at the sky as the dark alien ships circled above the crimson wastes. Their engines hummed with a deep, rumbling power, shaking the sand beneath their feet. These were not the Duke's machines. These were far more advanced and far more dangerous. Liari's voice trembled. "They should not be here. If they came, it means something else went wrong." Rylan kept his eyes on the ships. "Who are they?" She swallowed, her throat dry. "My people. The Valen Royal Guard. They are sworn to protect the royal family, and to kill anyone who tries to harm them." Rylan raised an eyebrow. "And what will they do when they see me standing with you?" Liari looked down. "They will think you're the kidnapper." Rylan let out a slow exhale. "Great." The ships began to descend, kicking up huge clouds of red sand. Rylan grabbed Liari's hand and pulled her behind a large rock. "Stay low. Don't move." She shook her head. "Rylan, you must run. If they see you with me, they will destroy you. They don't ask questions. They follow orders." "And what about you?" Rylan asked. Liari's voice broke. "If they think I'm alive, they might take me back. But they will test me. They will make sure my powers still work. And if they don't, they will discard me." Rylan stared at her. "Powers." Kiri closed her eyes as if preparing to reveal a burden she carried alone for too long. "I was born with a rare ability. My energy can heal, protect, or destroy. Only 1 in 1,000 is born like that. It is called the Royal Vein Gift. Those who carry it are chosen as brides of the royal bloodline to keep the line strong." Rylan felt everything click into place. The Duke had not just stolen a woman, he'd stolen a living treasure. Suddenly, a loud thud hit the sand near them. A squad of Valen royal guards landed, tall alien warriors in glowing armor, eyes sharp, weapons humming. They spread out, scanning the area like hunters tracking prey. "Liari," one of them shouted into the desert. "If you are alive, step forward," Liari gasped. She recognized that voice. She peeked over the rock and saw a familiar face, Commander Valor, the man who had sworn to protect her since childhood. But his face wasn't filled with relief. It was filled with pure fury. "Rylan," touched her shoulder. Is he a friend? He was, she whispered. But now, he believes I am dead. And if he sees me with a human, he'll try to kill me. Rylan finished. Lyrie nodded. Rylan didn't seem bothered. All right. Then we won't let him see me. 2 guards moved closer. They scanned footprints in the sand relins. Footprints human-sized, not matching any Valen pattern. 1 guard growled. The kidnapper was here. A human? Find him. Rylan prepared to strike if they came closer, but Lyrie grabbed his arm. You will die if you fight them, she whispered fiercely. Let me speak to them. No, Rylan said. They take you. You might not come. Back. Lyrie looked into his eyes, really looked. His calm confidence didn't come from pride or power. It came from something deeper, something she wasn't used to. He cared, not because she was royal, not because she had powers, but because she was suffering. That made her decision before Rylan could stop her. Lyrie stood up from behind the rock. Commander Valor. She shouted. The guards froze. Valor's eyes widened in shock, his voice cracking. Lyrie, you're alive. He ran toward her, but his joy lasted only a second. When he saw her torn clothes, bruised wrists, and wounded back, his expression changed to pure rage. Who did this to you? He demanded. The Duke, she said. He imprisoned me. He stole me. The guards murmured angrily. Valor's hands clenched, his armor glowing with fury. We suspected, but we had no proof. Lyrie stepped closer. Rylan saved me. At that moment, Rylan stepped out from behind the rock. Every guard instantly raised their weapons at him. The air buzzed with deadly energy. Rylan stayed calm. I'm not your enemy. But Valor didn't believe it. A human dare touch a royal bride, dare run away with her, dare protect her. Lie stepped between them before anyone could. Fire, he saved my life, she shouted. He risked everything for me. If he didn't come, I would still be dying in that room. Valor's jaw clenched. You trust him? Lyrie looked back at Rylan. I do. The desert grew silent, for the first time. The royal guards lowered their weapons just a little, but one thing was clear. This story was no longer about a stolen bride or a gambling debt. It was about a human who had walked into a storm, far bigger than he ever imagined. And now the royal forces needed to decide, was Rylan their enemy, or the only man brave enough to do what they themselves failed to do? The desert wind howled between Rylan and the Valen royal guards. Even with their weapons slightly lowered, the tension felt sharp enough to cut. Any wrong movement could turn the scene into a battlefield. Commander Valor stepped forward, his armor glowing with shifting light. Human, he said coldly, you stand beside a royal bride. This alone could be seen as treason. Rylan didn't blink. I didn't choose her. She asked for help. Lyrie moved quickly to stand between them. Her voice was firm but shaking. He saved me from the Duke. None of you were there. None of you saw what he did. Valor exhaled slowly, anger fading into a heavy guilt. We thought you were dead. We searched for months. Your energy signature vanished. We believed that Duke destroyed you. Lyrie shook her head. He didn't destroy me. He hid me. He kept me powerless. Rylan watched Valor's eyes shift, rage building again, but this time toward the Duke. Still, Valor looked at Rylan with suspicion. You carry no mark of honor, Valor said. No reason to fight for her. Rylan shrugged. Maybe that's why she believed me. The guards didn't understand humans. They understood power, bloodline, tradition, duty. But helping someone with no reward, helping someone simply because it was right, was strange to them before anyone could speak again. A loud screech echoed across the desert. Everyone turned. Across the dunes, black shapes crawled out of the Sand the Duke's hunters, not the beasts from earlier. These were worse. Tall, armored creatures, controlled by metal implants on their skulls, moving in perfect coordination. Their eyes glowed with artificial energy. Valor's expression hardened. The Duke's war beasts. Rylan stepped forward. They followed. U.S. Liari grabbed his arm. You can't fight them alone. He looked at her with a calm smile. I don't plan to. The beasts moved fast, charging toward them with deadly speed. The guards formed a circle around Liari, their weapons glowing brightly. Valor shouted orders in their native tongue, preparing for battle. But the moment the beasts got close, they didn't attack. Instead, they ran past the Valan soldiers and turned only toward Rylan. Every single one, Liari gasped. They marked. Your scent. They locked onto you. Rylan tightened his grip on the metal pipe he carried, his only real weapon. He took a step forward, separating himself from the guards. Valor shouted, Human, stay inside the circle. But Rylan ignored him. You protect her, he said. I'll draw them away. Kiri's eyes widened. No, you'll die. Rylan looked at her gently. I told you I wouldn't leave you. He sprinted forward. The beasts roared and charged after him, their massive claws tearing through the sand. Rylan ran toward a rocky ridge, forcing the creatures to chase him away from Liari and the guards. Valor stared in disbelief. He is insane. Liari shook her head, tears building. He is human. Rylan jumped onto the first rock, spun, and smashed his metal pipe into the skull of the nearest beast. The impact sent sparks flying. The beast collapsed instantly. Another leaped at him. Rylan rolled aside, grabbed its armor plate, and used its own momentum to slam it into another creature. Sand flew, claws slashed, metal crashed. The beasts fought like machines, but Rylan fought like a man with nothing to lose. He had no armor, no advanced weapon, no training in their style. But he had something they didn't: human stubbornness. One beast lunged at him from behind. Rylan barely dodged, but the creature's claws cut deep into his shoulder. Pain flashed across his body, but he didn't stop. He swung the pipe again, knocking the beast off the ledge from below. Liari covered her mouth in horror. Valor stared with shock. No ordinary man fights like that, Liari whispered. He's not ordinary. The remaining beasts regrouped, circling Rylan at the top of the ridge. He was outnumbered, bleeding, breathing hard, yet he stood tall. One beast leaped Rylan, grabbed it midair, twisted its head, and sent it crashing down. Another attacked. He ducked and stabbed the pipe through its chest panel. The final beast charged straight toward him. Rylan didn't wait. He ran toward it too. Human against machine. They collided. A loud crack echoed across the desert, and the beast fell. Rylan dropped to one knee, breathing heavily, blood dripping from his arm. The ridge was covered with broken metal and dead beasts. The desert wind carried a strange silence. Liari ran toward him. Valor tried to stop her, but she didn't listen. She reached Rylan and knelt beside him. You're hurt. Rylan wiped blood from his lip. I've been worse. She shook her head, her voice filled with emotion. You risked your life for me again. Why? Rylan looked at her softly. Because no one else did. For a moment, Liari couldn't speak. She simply held his uninjured hand, her glowing eyes trembling. From behind, Valor and the guards approached slowly. This time, they looked at Rylan with something new: respect. Real respect. Valor bowed his head slightly. Human, you fought like a warrior of the old legends. For that, you have earned our honor. But Rylan wasn't looking at them. He was looking only at Liari, and she was looking at him like he had. Become something more than a rescuer, something she never expected, her protector, her hope, her chosen one. The sun was sinking behind the red dunes when the deep hum of engines returned, this time louder, heavier, and with a force that shook the desert floor. The Valen Royal Guard looked up sharply. Their faces already tense, stiffened with shock. Liari turned slowly, her eyes widening. No, not them. Not now. Rylan stood beside her, tired but alert. "Who is it?" Valor answered in a quiet, uneasy voice. "The Royal Fleet. The High Council must have learned of her presence. Dozens no, hundreds of sleek black ships descended in formation, their lights glowing like stars. The sky darkened under their shadows." This was not a rescue mission. This was an event that could reshape the galaxy. The largest ship landed in front of them, heavier than an entire human building. The ground cracked under its weight. A massive ramp lowered, and rows of royal soldiers marched out, armor brighter, weapons more advanced, expressions sharper than the desert wind. Behind them walked a tall figure draped in royal silver robes, the emissary of the High Council, one of the most feared voices in the galaxy. His eyes glowing white locked onto Liari first, then onto Rylan. He frowned instantly. Why, the emissary spoke slowly. Is a human standing beside a royal bride? Valor stepped forward quickly. "Emissary, the human is not the enemy." But the emissary raised a hand. Valor went silent. Liari moved before anyone else. "He saved me," she said firmly. "He risked everything for me." The emissary's gaze sharpened. "You defend him?" "Yes," Liari said, moving closer to Rylan, "with my life." A ripple of whispers moved through the royal soldiers. For a royal bride to say such words in front of the council was not just unusual, it was forbidden. Rylan didn't move, didn't speak. He kept his hands loose at his sides, ready if something went wrong. The emissary observed him with cold interest. "Human," he said, "you touched a royal bride. You carried her. You fought with her. You stood as her guardian." Rylan didn't blink. "She asked for help, and you helped." The emissary asked. Rylan nodded once. "Yes, knowing the risk." "Yes, knowing that we could kill you for it." "Yes." The emissary tilted his head. "Why?" Rylan answered with the same calm honesty that had carried him through. "Everything. Because no one else did." The desert fell silent. The emissary looked shaken for the first time. Before he could reply, Liari stepped forward. "The Duke imprisoned me. He broke the laws of every world. Rylan freed me. He kept me alive. He fought off the Duke's hunters. He protected me even when he thought my people would kill him." Her voice cracked with emotion, but she didn't. "Stop. He is not my captor. He is my rescuer." The emissary stared at her long and hard, then slowly turned to his soldiers. "Bring me the truth record." A guard stepped forward with a glowing cube. The emissary activated it. Light spilled across the ground, forming a holographic vision of the past. The cube replayed Liari's memories from the palace. They saw the chains around her wrists, her bruised skin, the Duke's cruelty. Rylan opening the door, Liari whispering, "Please, don't leave me." Rylan picking her up and carrying her out when the vision faded. The emissary's expression changed completely. He bowed not to Liari. "To Rylan, you have done what even our own failed to do," the emissary said. "You saved a royal bride at the cost of your own life. For this human, the High Council acknowledges your courage." Rylan blinked. "That's good, right?" Liari let out a tiny laugh, the first real laugh since her rescue. But the emissary wasn't finished. "However," he said, "there is still the matter of the Duke." Valor stepped forward. "He must face punishment." "More than punishment," the emissary said. "We will remove him, today, entirely." Rylan frowned slightly, meaning the emissary's eyes glowed brighter. War. A heavy silence. Settled. Liari grabbed Rylan's hand. "We cannot fight them now. You are injured." Rylan squeezed her hand lightly. "I'm fine." But Liari shook her head. "No, you're bleeding." The emissary noticed their hands touching. His eyes widened. "You two are bonded." Liari froze. Rylan didn't understand the weight of the question. Bonded. What does that? Liari stepped closer, her voice soft. "It means I chose. You, when you protected me, when you didn't leave me, when you risked your life again and again." The emissary inhaled sharply. The royal guards whispered urgently among themselves. Valor stared in disbelief. Rylan stood stunned. Liari looked at him with glowing, emotional eyes. "You became my guardian," she whispered. "But also something more." The emissary raised his hand. "Then the final decision is clear." Everyone turned toward him. He pointed at the Duke's palace in the distant horizon. "Tomorrow we march on the Duke." Then he pointed at Rylan. "And you, human, will stand." At the center of the battlefield, beside the royal bride, Rylan exhaled slowly. The next chapter would not be a rescue. It would be a war. The next morning rose heavy and red, casting long shadows across the desert. Rylan stood atop a hill with Liari beside him, watching the royal fleet prepare for war. The air smelled of metal, dust, and destiny. Soldiers arranged their formations, weapons hummed with bright energy, and hundreds of ships hovered in the sky like, silent, waiting hawks. Rylan tightened the cloth around his wounded shoulder. It still hurt, but pain no longer mattered. Today, everything would end. Liari touched his arm gently. "You don't have to fight," she whispered. "You already saved me." Rylan shook his head. "If I don't go with you, he'll keep coming. He'll send hunters, soldiers, beasts, until one of us is gone. This ends today." Liari looked down, her eyes softening. "You are brave, even for a human." Rylan smirked. "We have our moments." Commander Valor approached, his armor cleaned and glowing. For the first time, he bowed deeply to Rylan. "Human," he said, "you may not be one of us, but today you will stand in the royal vanguard. It is a position given only to those we trust with our lives." Rylan didn't respond with pride. He simply nodded. "Let's finish this." The MRC's the Royal Army moved in perfect formation toward the Duke's palace, thousands of soldiers, all in synchronized steps, weapons shining under the harsh sun. Dust clouds rose behind them, like the earth itself was marching with them. Rylan walked in front, next to Liari, whose presence radiated a quiet strength. She was no longer the trembling prisoner. She was a royal bride reclaiming her destiny. When the palace came into view, the ground shook as massive gates opened. Armored beasts, elite soldiers, and the Duke's private guards spilled out to form a wall of defense. Then the Duke himself appeared, dressed in gold armor. Eyes burning with fury, he pointed at Rylan with trembling anger. "You," he shouted, "a filthy human, you stole what is mine." Rylan stepped forward, without fear. "She was never yours." The Duke's face twisted. "I took her because she belonged to power greater than yours. She is a weapon, a prize, a throne, waiting to be claimed." Liari's voice cut through the air like a blade. "I am not a prize. I am not a weapon. I chose him because he treated me like a person." Whispers rippled through the royal army. Even the Duke's soldiers hesitated. The Duke roared, "Kill the human." But before his orders could echo twice, the emissary raised his hand. "By royal decree," the emissary said, "and by the sacred laws of the Valen Kingdom, you, Duke Howron, are charged with treason, kidnapping, torture, and the violation of a royal bride. The Duke laughed. You think I feared your decrees? He raised his arm and unleashed his final weapon. From behind the palace, a giant mechanical beast emerged, twice the size of any creature, armored with glowing runes, roaring loud enough to shake the sky. The royal guards stepped back. Liari gasped. He built that to destroy anyone who came for me. Rylan grabbed a fallen spear from the ground. Guess I'm going first. Before anyone could stop him, he charged. The metal beast swung its massive claw, sending dust flying. Rylan slid under it, stabbing the spear into a joint between its armor plates. Sparks burst. The beast staggered, then roared louder. Rylan leaped onto its back, holding tight as it thrashed wildly. The royal army watched in shock. No one royal or human had ever dared climb such a monster. The Duke screamed, "Crush him!" But Rylan already found the weak point. A glowing blue energy core near the beast's neck. He punched the plate repeatedly, ignoring pain, ignoring blood dripping from his hand. Ignoring everything except the promise he made to protect Liar. With one final strike, the core shattered. The beast collapsed in a burst of blue light, shaking the palace foundations as it fell. Silence, dust, then Liari ran toward Rylan, her eyes filled with tears. You did it. You're alive. Rylan smiled weakly. Still here? The Duke stumbled back in terror. His army broke. No one wanted to fight a human who destroyed a war beast with his bare hands. When he tried to run, Valor and 2 guards stopped him. The emissary approached. Your rule ends today. The Duke screamed as he was dragged away, his power shattered, his lies burned, his legacy erased. A new BGI-9 nonjulator. When the dust settled, Liari stood before Rylan. You risked everything for me, she whispered. Not because of my title, but because you cared. Rylan looked into her glowing eyes. I didn't plan any of this. I just couldn't walk away. Liari stepped closer, her voice soft and warm. Then let me walk with you. The emissary announced to the entire army. Let it be known across the galaxy, the royal bride was saved by a human. Not a soldier, not a king. A simple human with a brave heart. The royal army saluted Rylan. Liari held his hand, and the galaxy whispered a new legend. Never underestimate a human.